Welcome back to the Crypto World channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and this is a really important update video for all Bitcoin holders and Ethereum holders out there, because as you can see just here, Bitcoin confirms this little move to the downside as a fake out, because we just saw a daily candle close back inside the rising wedge. In just a moment, I'll be explaining exactly what this means and my next Bitcoin price targets moving forward, some really important levels that we need to pay attention to. I'll also be covering the Bitcoin long positions, because right now we are actually seeing some relief in the selling pressure due to the long positions now starting to open back up again in the immediate short term. And I will be updating you guys on Ethereum as well later in the video, letting you guys know about my trade that I actually took right here, because right now we're sitting in around 70% profits, and I've actually taken a small amount of profits out of that trade already. All of that and more in this video, so make sure you're watching all the way to the end so that you're not missing out on any of that valuable information. And just before we jump into it, if you could just leave a like on the video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Honestly, that helps out the channel so much, and I really do appreciate it, and it only takes a couple of seconds out of your day to click those buttons down below. But anyway, with all of that out of the way, let's get straight to what this video is about. So right here, we're on the Bitcoin to US dollar chart on the 4-hour time frame, and as you can see, we have continued to see this push to the upside after we saw this nice bounce along this level of support. Now, I must admit, I was actually expecting some more either sideways consolidation or perhaps bearish price action in the immediate short term before we see another bullish movement, and we can still experience some more bearish price action because we do actually still have some bearish indicators showing us that we are likely to have, a continued short-term cool-off, and I'll be getting into those in just a moment in the video, so stay tuned for that. But obviously right now we have seen a further push to the upside, and Ethereum was actually a leading indicator on this push to the upside because of course we had that falling wedge pattern in the Ethereum price. Once again, I'll be covering that in just a moment. But that drop to the downside after this diamond top pattern right into this support just here, that was pretty much a perfect result of the diamond top pattern, because obviously if you're taking the price target for this diamond top pattern, measuring out the price, as you can see just here, that is the technical price target. We pretty much exactly met that price target and started to head back to the upside. And now when you're taking a look at this parallel channel that Bitcoin has been in over the past few days, as you can see, we have been in a short-term downtrend, but right now within the past few hours, we have actually broken to the upside out of this downtrend. Right now we're waiting to officially form a new higher high, but it looks like we're about to do that any moments now. So of course, once again, we are looking a little bit more bullish in the immediate short term, but we still have a couple larger bearish signals that we need to pay attention to as well. And obviously because of the fact that the Bitcoin price is now leaving this downwards channel, so that means that the fractal that I was mentioning in the last Bitcoin update has now been invalidated. And now checking out the Bitcoin to US dollar chart on the 1-day time frame, as you can see just here, we did see an official fake out just here. This turned into be a bear trap. I've been covering this rising wedge pattern for Bitcoin for the last couple of days once again, and technically speaking, it is a bearish pattern, so we can still break to the downside. Keep that in mind. But of course, we saw this one daily candle close, and I'll let you guys know in my last Bitcoin update, because we didn't close that far below this line of support just here, obviously we could just adjust this line to fit that in just there. So what we need to also see is a successful retest of this line, and of course if we closed another daily candle below this line and got rejected at that line just there, then that would help confirm the break to the downside. But I mentioned that if the daily candle closes back above this line, then that is obviously showing signs that the bulls are regaining control in the short term, and that's exactly what we're seeing right now. So as of right now, this rising wedge pattern, technically speaking, is remaining to be broken. And for the complete beginners out there, the statistics for a rising wedge pattern is basically around 7 times out of 10 these patterns break to the downside, and about 3 times out of 10 they break to the upside. So they can break to the upside, they are just more likely to break to the downside, so keep that in mind. The support right now for the rising wedge is coming in at around $48,500 US dollars approximately. So if we start breaking below 48,000, but more importantly, if we break below this low just here in particular, then that's how you know that we're in for some lower prices. And if you're wondering exactly what lower prices, definitely check out my last few Bitcoin updates, because I went into more detail about all of those lower price targets and areas of support for Bitcoin. But right now, because we are inside the wedge again, it's still a possibility that we actually continue bouncing to the upside and potentially break out to the upside. So what we need to pay attention to in that scenario is of course the resistance. Right now we have confirmed resistance at around $50,500 US dollars, and already aside from that level, we were expecting strong resistance at $51,000 US dollars before we found that point of resistance just there. Because of course, if you're staying on this daily time frame, and also keep in mind we were in a rising wedge pattern all the way back here at the all-time high for Bitcoin, and of course you saw the result of that rising wedge pattern, so just keep that in mind. But anyway, yesterday, bringing out the Fibonacci retracement tool from the all-time high down to the low at around 29,000. As you can see, we've got the golden pocket, the 61.8% Fibonacci level coming in at around 51,000 US dollars. So that is seriously the level to break. If we stay below that level, then we can be in for some bearish price action or at least sideways consolidation. Once again, that is totally possible. But the moment that we really start breaking above around 51 to 52,000 US dollars, that little price range just there, which is once again the golden pocket, then a confirmed break above that little range just there, once again, would send the Bitcoin price shooting to the upside. And according to these Fibonacci levels, we shouldn't really find too much more resistance until we reach the 78.6% Fibonacci level, which is coming in at around 57,000 US dollars. So from the point of the break just here at around 51K, if we can get above that level, that's around an 11% push to the upside. And then above that level, we don't really have too much resistance until the all-time high itself at around 64,000 US dollars, give or take, which from the point of the break of 51,000 to the all-time high, that is around a 26% push. And from the current price of the all-time high, that is around a 31% push to the upside. So obviously there's some big opportunities in Bitcoin, but we seriously need to break above 51 to 52,000 first, because you have to consider that we can still play out a bit of bearish price action while we are below 51,000. So keep that in mind. That is seriously an important level that I'm looking at. And once again, even though rising wedge patterns are technically speaking bearish patterns, and technically they're more likely to break to the downside, once in a while they break to the upside, just like what we've seen in the NASDAQ, as you can see just here. And for those of you wondering why I'm covering the stock market, Bitcoin is somewhat correlated to the stock market. I can explain that in more detail in another video if you would like, but I'm going to quickly cover it in this video. Basically, while the stock market is really bullish, it's likely that Bitcoin is going to be bullish. And the moment that the stock market experiences either some volatility, or especially if we see some major moves to the downside, usually when that's happening in the stock market, that also coincides with a move to the downside in Bitcoin as well. But obviously right now, the NASDAQ and also the S&P 500 are actually pushing into all-time highs. So that is actually a good thing for Bitcoin. So this is the S&P 500 on the 1 day time frame, and zooming all the way out, looking at the big picture, as you can see just here, that huge crash to the downside, that was in around March 2020. And of course, during that same time, during March 2020, Bitcoin had a huge crash to the downside as well. And also going back here to this time period in the stock market, where the stock market had quite a lot of volatility during that time period just there, that was the 2018 bear market for Bitcoin. Once again, Bitcoin had a huge run up throughout 2016, 2017, just like what the stock market saw. And then the moment the stock market started crashing to the downside and entering that volatility, that was the exact moment that Bitcoin entered that 2018 bear market once again. And towards the end of 2018 in Bitcoin, we actually had a crash from around 6,000 down to 3,000 in the Bitcoin price, with one last major capitulation, just like what we saw in the stock market at the end of 2018. And then the moment the stock market bottomed out just here, that's when Bitcoin bottomed out for the 2018 bear market, before we started that nice run up in the first half of 2019, exactly like what we saw in the stock market. And once again, that happened over in Bitcoin. So the stock market and Bitcoin are pretty correlated to each other in regards to the price during overly bullish or overly bearish times. And the reason why that is mainly because of two reasons. First of all, a bullish stock market provides investor confidence all round. And of course, if all investors are really, really confident, they're going to begin speculating on some potentially higher risk assets compared to just stocks. And that's obviously when crypto comes into play. But when a lot of investors see the stock market crashing to the downside, for example, the traditional investors during those more bearish times in the stock market like to shave off some of their higher risk investments, such as cryptocurrency, for example, because obviously crypto is more volatile than the stock market. But yeah, right now, once again, we're seeing a break to the upside. And by the way, the other reason why the stock market is somewhat correlated to Bitcoin during those certain times of overly bullish and overly bearish time periods, once again, is because of the US dollar. As you can see, this is the DXY, the US dollar index on the daily time frame. And of course, this is important for Bitcoin holders because Bitcoin is most commonly paired to the US dollar. When we're looking at Bitcoin's value, we're mostly talking about the US dollar. So if the US dollar itself is heading to the downside in terms of its value, then obviously that's going to help Bitcoin push to the upside against the US dollar. And then obviously when the US dollar is pushing to the upside, that's actually going to provide an extra force against Bitcoin to the downside, because obviously if the US dollar is gaining in value, Bitcoin could just stay stay the same relative to its purchasing power. But if Bitcoin is paired to something else like the US dollar that is gaining in value, it would look like Bitcoin is losing in value against the US dollar if the US dollar is rising once again. But what we're seeing right now in the US dollar index on the daily time frame is actually a slight dip to the downside, and we actually had a fake out of this ascending triangle pattern. So this is actually really bullish for pretty much all investments that are valued against the US dollar, because obviously if the US dollar is going to the downside, once again, Bitcoin versus the US dollar is going to do pretty well. And Bitcoin also has some other factors at play that we need to pay attention to. For example, this is the Bitcoin long positions over on the Bitfinex exchange on the daily time frame. And for the complete beginners out there, a long position is a derivative of Bitcoin, and you can think of it kind of like just buying into Bitcoin, but you're not holding Bitcoin itself, you're holding a derivative of Bitcoin, so kind of like a paper Bitcoin. And usually most long positions are using leverage when they're opening up, which is of course borrowed money. So as I just said, when the long positions are opening, that is buying into Bitcoin, so it's creating a buying pressure for Bitcoin, just like what we saw during around June, July, leading in towards the end of July just here. And so all of that buying pressure actually held the Bitcoin price above around 29 to 30,000 over the past few months. Once again, that really helped Bitcoin with this next move to the upside. But now with that move to the upside that we've experienced over the past 1 month approximately, a lot of those long positions that were accumulated at those much lower prices towards $30,000 per Bitcoin, a lot of those long positions on this move to the upside once again are taking profits. So that's what this is right here. These long positions have been closing to the downside over the past 1 month. But if you're taking a look here, there's one area on the chart just here for around 4 to 5 days where we pretty much head sideways. These long positions kind of stopped heading to the downside and in fact started opening back up again for a short amount of time once again. And that was in between the 2nd of August up towards around the 6th of August this year. And taking a look on the Bitcoin chart between the 2nd of August and the 6th of August, that was right here. That's the 2nd of August, and the 6th of August is right here. So as you can see, in that time period just there, the Bitcoin price actually reached a small bottom and we started to head to the upside over the next 4 days approximately before we started running into the next major resistance. So simply just from the closing of those long positions slowing down, and in fact some new long positions opening back up, that actually provided quite a lot of buying pressure for the Bitcoin price during that time period once again. And right now we're seeing a somewhat similar thing. As you can see, the long positions in the immediate short term over the past 1 to 2 days have stopped heading to the downside. Right now we're seeing a few new long positions open back up again. So of course, this isn't really a major trend change right now. What we're seeing right now in the long positions is basically just reduced selling pressure overall for Bitcoin, just like what we saw in that short time period back there once again in the beginning of August. All right, now giving you guys a quick update on Ethereum. As you can see just here, we actually saw that breakout to the upside out of that falling wedge pattern as expected. Once again, I let you guys know about that falling wedge pattern and the actual trade setup right down here when Ethereum was at around 3.1k over on my Twitter. As you can see just here, about 1 day ago now, I let you guys know once again the falling wedge pattern is actually forming. We're about to see a bullish cross on the MACD on the 4-hour time frame. So this is a setup for a potential move to the upside in the immediate short term. And I also let you guys know that I'm in a current long position, as you can see just there, right as I was opening that position. So if you want to get these extra updates throughout the day and these trade setups as soon as they are happening, once again, definitely check that out on the Twitter. The link to my Twitter is in the description down below. And just a quick update on my Ethereum trade right now. I've actually reduced the size of the trade quite a bit. As you can see, this only really started out as a smaller trade for myself. So as you can see, I entered down here at around 3,140 approximately, and it started out as a $30,000 trade. And since then, I've actually reduced it by $20,000. And right now the trade's still sitting in around 70% profit, but also once again, I've taken around $1,000 profit out of this trade so far. And you can see here, my stop loss is sitting in profits right now. So the worst case scenario, if the price heads back to the downside, I'll be stopped out in profits as well. And if we keep heading to the upside, I've got these limit orders set right here to actually scale out of this trade if we head to the upside as well. So congrats to those of you that have been following me over on Twitter, and for those of you that did take this trade once again, because this was a pretty nice little catch just here. And for the new viewers on the channel, I'll quickly let you guys know about the World Series of Trading. It's only around 9 hours to go, less than 9 hours to go until the trading officially begins. So that's the time that we've got left to sign up if you would like to. And the subscribers are probably sick of hearing this by now, so feel free to skip 30 seconds if you already know about this. But once again, for those that don't really know what this is, right now there's a prize pool of 1.8 million US dollars. And so far, my Crypto World team has got 45 members in this competition. Let's see if we can try push that up to 50 members before the trading actually begins in around 8 to 9 hours from now. And how you can actually join my team is simply by clicking the first link in the description down below. It'll take you to this exact page just here. here. And then you come down here to the all troops section and you type in crypto world, 2 words into the search bar, and it'll come up with my team just here, where you can join my team if you would like to. And just simply by being a member in our team, you actually get a share in the multi-million-dollar prize pool if our team places well in this competition, of course. But already I'm going to be kicking this team off with a bang in the competition as soon as the trading begins, once again, because I'm going to be in this trade that is currently in about 70% profit. So once again, we're already going to be hitting the ground running in this competition. And also, just by being a member in our team, you can actually apply for an extra bonus of $3,650 US just by joining the team and following some simple instructions, which I'll also have in the description down below. So definitely check that out if you want to take this opportunity, because obviously this only comes around once a year and we've got a pretty strong team in this competition so far. But yeah, heading back to the Ethereum chart, as you can see, we also got that very nice spike in volume the moment we were breaking out just here. So that provided immediate confirmation of the breakout to the upside. And we have also made a new higher high compared to this little high just here. But of course, we've still got the very important resistance up here at around 3,360 approximately, in around that little area just there. Because as you can see, pretty much in a price range between 3.3K and 3.4K, we've actually found huge resistance previously for Ethereum over the past couple weeks at that exact price range once again. So that has already been confirmed multiple times as resistance, and also moving out on the daily time frame just here, bringing out the Fibonacci retracement tool from the all-time high down to the low at around 1700. As you can see, we've got the golden pocket, the 61.8% Fibonacci level starting at around 3,370 approximately, and the golden pocket finishes at just above 3.4K. That is the 65% level. So as you can see there, that is also providing very strong resistance for the Ethereum price. And while we are below that price just there, while we are below the golden pocket, we have to still take into consideration that we can play out some bearish price action, or at least sideways consolidation. And it's only if the price breaks above the golden pocket just there, so it's only if we really start breaking above around 3.4K that we really start to experience some much more bullish price action again for Ethereum. And according to these Fibonacci levels, the next major resistance to the upside above the golden pocket at around 3.4K is the 78.6% Fibonacci level, coming in at around 3.8K. So from the golden pocket to that price just there, that's around a 13% move. And from the golden pocket up to the all-time high, which is really the final point of resistance, is a 30% move to the upside. So obviously there's some major opportunities in the Ethereum market right now. But once again, I want to make it clear that we are still risking some potential bearish price action while we are below the golden pocket. So even though we've experienced a short-term bullish movement in the markets, of course, that's been backed up with this bullish cross in the MACD and the RSI starting to head to the upside in the shorter time frames. But once again, on the daily time frame, what we're actually seeing is still some bearish signs in these price oscillators. As you can see, the RSI is drastically heading to the downside. We are really seeing no major trend shift in the RSI on the daily time frame for Ethereum, and we're seeing a somewhat similar thing over on the Bitcoin chart as well. So this is still telling us that we are due for either a continued cool off to the side, if not slightly to the downside once again. And this is also backed up with the daily MACD as well. As you can see, we had that bearish cross around 1 to 2 weeks ago now, and we've actually stayed bearish on the daily time frame ever since that point around 1 to 2 weeks ago once again. So even though the price has been consolidating sideways within this range just here, these other indicators are still showing signs that we are due for a potential move to the downside, or at the very least continued sideways consolidation for a little while longer. And usually this sort of thing tells us what's going to happen around a couple weeks in advance, because of course, looking at some previous areas on the chart where we entered, a short-term downtrend in the RSI and also these bearish crosses in the MACD. As you can see, we were seeing this bullish movement into sideways consolidation just here, and then we started a bearish trend in the daily RSI. And the moment we started doing that, we actually had some bearish price action that played out over the next 1 to 2 weeks just here before we finally bottomed out with a bullish cross in the MACD at the bottom just there, signaling that we are due for a move to the upside. And we've seen this time and time again as well. As you can see just here, we had quite a strong downtrend in the daily RSI all the way back in around this time last year, back in around August 2020. So as you can see, we had a very bullish move to the upside. We actually entered some sideways consolidation, which actually was slightly to the upside as well. But the daily RSI, on the other hand, was really crashing to the downside. So that was telling us that we are due for some bearish price action coming soon. And once again, as soon as we hit September, the following month just here, we actually started seeing a little bit more bearish price action play out, which was followed by really a huge sideways consolidation that led all the way up up in towards November, and then it wasn't until November, December that we started actually really experiencing some more bullish price action, obviously leading into the start of this year. And also taking a look at the funding rates, these funding rates just over the past 12 hours or so, with that small bullish movement to the upside across most markets, have actually gone to the upside as well. As you can see, the funding rates are now more positive than they were just yesterday, and this is actually slightly a bearish sign. So right now they're not overly positive, so they're not overly bearish, but the more and more positive these funding rates go, the more expensive it gets to maintain a long position, and the more incentive is created to open a short position. So once again, I'm keeping an eye on these funding rates, because seriously, if they get too positive, that's how you know that we are due for some more bearish price action. But right now they are slightly bearish, but not overly bearish, at least just yet, because also looking at the crypto fear and greed index, with that small bullish movement to the upside just recently over the past 12 hours, once again, we have seen the Bitcoin fear and greed index absolutely shoot to the upside back into extreme greed, which is seriously a warning signal. This is sending alarm bells, because when we are in extreme greed, that is when we are likely to experience some bearish price action. So seriously keep that in mind, because the last time that we saw the opposite, when we saw extreme fear, that was around a couple months ago now, when the prices of Bitcoin and Ethereum were bottoming out and we were due for a major move to the upside. Once again, that was when we were in extreme fear. But right now, because we are in extreme greed, we actually saw this when the prices were topping out a few months ago at the all-time highs for Bitcoin and Ethereum. So right now, this does not tell us exactly when the bearish price action will happen, but it just tells us that we are due for some more bearish price action, or at least a sideways consolidation, while we are sitting at these extreme greed levels. But anyway, I better stop this video here before it gets too long. I really hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you got something valuable out of this video as always. And if you enjoy these extra bonus updates throughout the day, definitely leave a like on the video down below. And if you're new to the channel, you might as well subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on, so that you're not missing out on any of these future videos. And it seriously is important to have your notifications turned on once again, because normally I post 2 videos a day, but this video, once again, every now and again, I post these extra updates if it's important to make another video, and having those notifications turned on will obviously notify you of these extra uploads as soon as I'm posting them. But anyway, that's really everything I have to say for this video. Once again, I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.